Good morning. My name is Alex Pennington, and we are the Aspiring Writers United. Recently, I went viral on Facebook. I've had a couple of tweets that just blew up, and I started getting a lot of messages from people. To give you context, I went from about 6,000 followers to 30,000 followers. So 5 times. That's pretty good. I am honored. I'm blown away. It's been awesome. But I started noticing a trend of messages I would get from people. And it goes something like this. Hello, Alex. I have been editing my manuscript for a while. I've done several rounds of revisions, but I keep finding that I have to do rewrites. I keep starting over, or I get stuck at this certain amount of pages, and I have to go back and change things, and I'm just not sure if I'm a good writer. Basically, a lot of people get this idea that because they're having to make a lot of changes in their story, or because they are having to go back and re edit, change things, maybe scrap their entire manuscript and start over from scratch, that they are a bad writer. And I just want to dispel this myth because I promise you, if you pick up any book on the shelf, for example, Cassandra Clare, we got Sarah J. Maas, Leigh Bardugo, if you were to compare the book itself to their first draft, to their second, to their third, to their fourth draft, it would be wildly different. The writing process is about change. It's about taking really a terrible first draft and turning it into something amazing. Like, for me personally, I am on my 8th or ninth draft of my manuscript, and it is wildly different than what it was as a first draft. But even after my 4th draft, I gave it to a beta reader, and she's like, I like what you're doing. You need to make a lot of changes. Then I gave it, so I made those changes. I gave it to another beta reader, and she was like, I like what you're doing. You need to make a lot of changes. And so I made those changes. And then I gave it to my editor. And she was like, I like what you're doing. You're seeing a pattern here. You probably should start over from scratch, though. I mean, obviously, we all want our manuscripts to be perfect right out the get go. We would be ecstatic if somebody was like, this is perfect. This is amazing. You should go pitch this to some publishing houses right now. But that's not reality. The reality is you're going to get told, "Hey, you're a good writer. You've got a story here, but you need to make some serious changes." And the thing is that when it comes to like structure and things, what I've noticed for me personally is that I just don't know certain things. Writing it's a whole beast. We all usually learned how to write essays in school. You have your thesis, you have your 3 arguments, you have your closing, that sort of stuff. That's not how you write a story. Like, it's not at all. In fact, there's like a set in stone story structure. I recommend you go read Save the Cat. It will open your eyes, blow your mind. It was a major turning point for me personally. But there's just stuff you don't know. And that's fine. Except you shouldn't feel bad because you don't know it. I like to liken writing to playing the piano. How many years does it take someone to learn to play the piano? Let's say I play guitar myself. I'm pretty good at guitar. I can do a great Wonderwall. Hey, but if I tried to go play piano and I was suddenly disappointed in myself because I've been playing guitar for years, why can't I play piano? That wouldn't be very that wouldn't work. It's like, well, no wonder you can't play piano. You play guitar. And I think a lot of people are like this. I've been writing my whole life. I've written essays. I write text. I do all this stuff. I read books. I read books. I write essays. Why can't I write a book? And it's a whole new beast for you. And so don't feel bad if you have to scrap your story or do multiple rounds of edits. Don't feel bad if you hit a wall. The writing process is all about growth. It's about your 5th draft being way better than your first draft. And so just concentrate on writing. And my biggest suggestion for anyone watching this video will always be make an outline. I fought it for years myself, but whenever I gave in to that evil temptation, whenever I went over to the dark side, it blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is so much easier. And I think there's something reassuring about knowing how your story is going to go beginning to end. And yes, you're going to make changes. As you actually start to write, you're going to go, this works, this doesn't work. I need to move some things around. Maybe I make some big wild change that gets you excited to write your story. That's okay. That's great. Go back, change your outline, make sure it lines up structurally, and then write your story. It's not about having some, concrete rule that you have to stick to. It's about having a light in the darkness. It's about kind of being able to see your path forward. But don't feel bad if you have to start over. Not every idea is going to work out. But just concentrate on the actual writing itself. It's okay to start over. It's okay to scrap a story for something else that makes you excited to write. But just know it's all part of the process. The process of writing is doing bad first drafts, doing bad fifth drafts. And it's a long process, and obviously we would all love it if my first draft was perfect, but that's very unlikely. And so just remember, you're not a bad writer, you're just a writer. And that's just what it is. It's about continuing to write, even though a lot of what you're writing, isn't perfect. Hey, this is going to take some work. It's going to take some edits. It's going to need a lot of future changes, but you have something to change. You have something to build on. And if you just keep building on it, eventually it's going to be so amazing. It's going to be a book on my shelf. It's going to be the next Hunger Games or next Shadow and Bone. But you have to write it. And so don't get down on yourself if you're having to go back and change. Don't get down on yourself if you have to go back and scrap your story. Just be proud that you have a story to scrap in the first place. Thank you all for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe below. But I'm curious, what draft are you on? How many times have you had to restart your story from scratch? Like I said, I'm on draft 8 or 9, and it's been a wild journey. So please comment below. Thank you.